Well, happy Tuesday, everybody. And boy, do we have a meaty one for you today in trending topics in real estate.
Juicy last week, meaty this week.
Yeah, well, this one, it's complicated. We're going to do our best to kind of boil it down and simplify it. But long story short, the trending topic today is an executive order that is, I believe, on the governor's desk, or it might be in draft mode going back and forth with an advisory board. To create what would be the biggest change in land use law in the state of Oregon in 50 years since the urban growth boundary laws were passed in the 70s.
Yeah.
And it would have major impacts on Central Oregon. The challenging thing is that these laws are written for urban communities, and they're setting the standard at 50,000 people or more, which Bend is the only city east of the Cascades that would fall into that category and be impacted by this. So, Grant, you're the brains of the team. Why don't you give us a little rundown of what they're talking about?
Let's see if I don't misrepresent this one here. So this is being referred to as the climate friendly and equitable area zoning. And like Matt said, it applies only to cities of 50,000 or greater, which of course here in Bend we're over double that now.
Yeah.
And what it says essentially is that in these cities of 50,000 or greater, that there are zones that are created that are climate friendly zones and equitable friendly zones, and 30% of all residential building permits need to focus on these climate friendly areas. And they're climate friendly because essentially they cut down on urban,
Yeah.
cut down on automobile transportation because they're highly dense mixed use neighborhoods that have a combination of housing, whether it be owned or rented housing, businesses, and entertainment options that you don't have to drive to, essentially, that you can walk, bike, mass transit. The goal being that it would cut down on our carbon footprint and pollution, and it's more equitable because the contention of the governor's office is that when you get more spread out, the cost of living, both renting and owning, goes up, not just in transportation costs, but because city services get stretched.
Yeah, police officers having to go out, fire departments.
So everything costs more. Now, I don't know how well we've hidden our kind of political leanings, but we're probably going to expose them now. We're very much against this because, and I'll tell you why, and hopefully you feel the same way. Bend, it's great. We love that it's grown, and it's going to continue to grow. But people don't move to Bend for the same reasons that they move to Portland or to Salem or to San Francisco or to these true urban areas. Bend is great because it has a lot of the infrastructure and amenities of an urban area, but we're set in a suburban environment and setting where we like our elbow room a little bit, and we still love to be neighborly, but we don't want to be living on top of each other. That's the main reason, or one of the main reasons, that most clients we've ever had that have moved here because they've come out of bigger cities wanting more space. And we also think it's just an infringement upon property rights and the ability to do with the land what we will.
Yeah. It would change the dynamic of what our single-family housing looks like here in Central Oregon, even just office, retail, public buildings, public facilities. But the biggest, one of the best examples that Grant gave is in this executive order, they're talking about any new multifamily building would have to be at least 10 stories tall.
They have to be 10 stories tall.
And I think that this will...
Trivia question, what's the tallest building right now in Bend? The answer is the new apartment building on the west side called the West Side Yard, right?
Which is probably only...
It's 72 feet tall.
Yeah, but how many stories is it?
It's only, I think, 6 stories. So this would have to be a 10-story building. It'd be
change the skyline.
It would change the skyline
and block the mountain views, and then eliminate a lot of the parking requirements, which is always a big hurdle for developers because it takes up a lot of land. So this would benefit, multifamily developers for sure, because they'd be able to just increase the density on these expensive parcels they're having to buy here in town. But imagine what it's going to do to the neighboring, just the neighbors, when they have this massive building that doesn't have to abide by the current setbacks or parking requirements, and so there's just bikes and people everywhere. There's aspects of it that are great. There's also requirements for trees and other things that are going to cost developers and maybe make it more prohibitive. So there's always, with these idealistic laws, executive orders, whatever you want to call it, there's always fallout.
There's
I
a
feel like,
there's a
from it.
there's a flip side to everything.
Yeah.
Not to mention that if 30% of the building permits, residential building permits, have to be in these localized climate friendly areas, the backlash that's going to have on the remaining parts of the city, if you think prices have gone up in the last year and a half, you're going to see prices in these kind of more elbow room neighborhoods around Bend skyrocket to just ungodly numbers.
Yeah, that, and it's really going to slow the development of the urban growth boundary lands that we brought in, which infrastructure is, Petrosa would be the one by Polish and Northeast, the one development that is substantial development that's taking place within those lands, but there's still plenty in Southeast.
Tons in Southeast.
And so, if those people can't build a house until that 30% is met within the kind of urban core, that's gonna limit our inventory, and
Prices,
it will
will
cause prices to
skyrocket.
go up. So we'll see what happens, but it sounds like this is just around the corner and it's real, and they've kind of been it hasn't been in the news too much.
It hasn't been. If you want to know more about this, call us, and then we'll actually pass you to somebody that's even smarter than us to learn more, because that's exactly where we're going with this.
Yep, that's exactly right. But that's what we know, and we hope you learned something today. And who knows, maybe there'll be a fourth part to this series. Right now we only have 3, so this may be the end, but if we come up with another awesome trending topic, we'll
have to see you at the box office, how it does at the box office, if there's a trending topics part due.
That's right. All right, thanks everybody.
See ya.
Hey, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you haven't already, make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Our handles are shown here on the screen, and you can always find our contact information or more about us on www.buysellbend.com. Thanks.